Awesome. I am so excited to talk with you today, Shannon. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Anna, for having me.
So, the reason I wanted to talk to you is because I love the name of your book. So, for those that don't know, Shannon's book is called Good Work: How to Build a Career That Makes a Difference in the World. And that's something I think my audience is very in tune with is using their career or business to make a difference. So, we're going to talk all about that. But first, I want to know, like, what made you decide to write this book about using your career to make a difference?
Yeah, good question. I have been working in the kind of impact space. So there's lots of different language I can throw in there at you today, but I wanted to kind of just summarize with using the word impact. So the making a difference, let's call it an impact space. And I've been actually a practitioner, so working within business and as a consultant, and also in a global nonprofit, so the likes of Deloitte, WWF, Barclays. So I'd actually been on the other side with a career in this impact space for many, many years, more than 20 years. And in parallel was also a recruiter. And so I enjoyed being able to create this company that I did, Walk of Life, about 12 years ago now, merging that sustainability or impact space with the recruitment and talent agenda, and being able to create a course and a curriculum to help a career changer navigate what are the steps they need to take in order to reinvent themselves. And so in 2017, I then launched an online course, which takes the career changer through 13 steps with webinars and tools and templates and resources. And I said, there are still people in the market that can't afford either my coaching or my online course. How can I reach more people? How can I actually walk the talk and achieve scalable change and inclusivity despite people's financial limitations? And so I said, I got to do the book. I can get the same content out there and help people to do a bit of a self-study by sharing a book which can reach lots of different markets. It's actually already been translated into Hungarian, of all things. Yeah. So yeah, that was the goal of the book, is to take my curated content and tips from 20 years in sustainability and impact, social impact, to the recruitment space, and also having been a practitioner myself. So I merged all that, and it's action-packed with lots of different tips and tools and real-world experience and stories.
Love that. So there's a lot of my audience who may be feeling stuck in their careers but want to make a difference, right? Want to make an impact, maybe are worried about how do they do that? So what are the steps? How do you build up that career that makes a difference in the world?
Yes, it's a process. So I think the first thing is get ready for the long game. It is a process, and it requires resilience and creativity, really, and a bit of chutzpah to pick up the phone and talk to people that maybe you don't know yet, to try to make it happen for yourself. But what I do in the book and in my 13 steps is I really break it down, because it is an iterative process. And I think the mistake I see a lot of people making is, I'm dissatisfied in my job. I know I want a new role, a new company, new lease on life. I want to feel like I'm making a difference and have more purpose. I'm just going to get on the job boards and start searching for roles, and then just start firing out my resume or CV all over the place and hope for the best. And that just does not work at all in our current recruitment market. So I've kind of taken everybody back a few steps. I don't actually even do the resume writing until step 8. So I take you back to the beginning of where you need to start thinking, which is really a marketing journey. So we're not going to take a product to the market unless we've done our market research, our competitive analysis, so we really know what the language is that's going to resonate for that audience. I take you through that whole process first. So that's mapping your values, your traits, your skills, most importantly, because that's your menu of service that you're going to be selling to your new audience. And then I also have you deep dive into, well, what sector or industry do you know a little bit from your previous roles or previous careers, that are going to really value that you're coming into it with a bit of knowledge about their sector or industry. And then I want you to start thinking about what issues are you passionate about. So again, this kind of world of impact and sustainability and resilience, we have lots of language and semantics for this, but what specifically do you want to shape change around? So is that, waste, water, carbon, climate change? Is it human rights, regenerative agriculture, diversity and inclusion, impact investing? There's so many little niches now of expertise and issues that we can shape change around, that I really encourage the career changer or the job seeker to really think about, what do they want to make a difference in, right? We can just say generically, I want to make a difference, and that doesn't actually mean anything to anyone. And for those of us that are recruiters in this space, when we see 250 resumes across our desk every day and see the word sustainability, corporate responsibility, social impact, it doesn't mean anything anymore. So I say, get as niche and as specific as you possibly can get about what issues you really want to shape change around. And then from there, we do some more of the traditional tools, like, developing accomplishment statements that are proof points for your 4 key skill areas, building out the resume with a nice executive summary in the profile, translating that into the bio, the LinkedIn, in a way that has a very solid brand story, like a personal brand career story that makes sense across all your channels. And that's going to really resonate for your audience that you've identified in those earlier steps. So that's the kind of journey I take someone on in my coaching and in the book. And the last step really is just get out there and do the N word, I call it, the networking, which most people shy away from. But the best way to make this happen for yourself is really connecting with people. And you'd be surprised how many people are willing to talk to you and be open and help you, if you find the right angle to open the door and then to make your ask. So I always encourage everyone, don't hide behind the screens, don't hide behind the job boards, but get out in front of people. And that's going to increase your chances by 60% of getting that dream job.
You probably saw me like light up when you said, don't use job boards. Cause anyone who's listened to me for a long time says that's not the first step either. So I love that you start with like you call it even marketing, and you call it, figuring out what you want to make a difference in, because then that means they're going to like love their career more too. And I feel like, my whole thing is, if you love your career, you're going to make more of an impact as well too. So we're definitely in line here. I love it.
Absolutely. Yep.
So what about fear, getting over the fear? Can you, I know there's a lot of fears of, can I even find a career with that thing I want to make a difference in? And a lot of that, how would you advise someone to get over that fear?
Yeah, fear is definitely, a human emotion that holds us back really from our own potential. And where it usually stems from is of the unknown. We don't know what we don't know. And so the first thing I have clients do is to really dive into their market and start doing the research around who are the companies and organizations that are getting them excited, what are the brands that they like, what are those issues, and then who are the players? So who are the people that are in the space that are already shaping change in a way that you think sounds really interesting? And if you do your market research like that, and you really dive in and start to pull out the key terms and what are some of the standards I need to know, and what are some of the, each space is very different in terms of if you go down the, impact investing versus if you're going to be a practitioner within an organization versus if you're going to go and do conservation in the field in Africa, so you've got to really know your audience and where you think you want to go first. And so that unpacking, I think, of the market is where I see the real shift in people's fear, because they start to understand it. They start to know it. They start to be like, okay, I can see myself there. Oh, that's really resonating for me. And that gets me excited. And that doesn't get me excited as much. And just that piece of work, which most people skip because they're going straight into the job boards, is transformational. So I think it is really about doing that market research. I call it I have the 4 sections of the book. The first 2 are the market landscape, and then aim your compass. So it's a little bit of a walk of life, walking up the mountain. And I do those two sections before I do the third and fourth sections, which is map your story and step into the market. So I think if people do those early steps, by the time they have to start writing their resume, they're feeling much more confident and they're feeling much more clear. And that helps a lot in our ability to overcome that fear of, where do I fit in? Am I good enough? Do I have enough experience? So I'd say, really taking those initial steps is key, but then also it's about maybe making an interim step. And this is something a lot of people don't think about. They think, I just want to make a difference. I want to change everything all at once. Just go for it. And that doesn't work either. We need to change things one step at a time. And I have a tool in the book called, this is the impact onion, and we kind of peel the layers, and you can really only change one layer at a time. And that means, it could be you want to work globally, but you're only at a local level now, or it could be your sector, your industry. It could be, I'm in nonprofit and I want to work in corporate. It could be the issues. I want to move from environmental to social impact. It could, lots of these things. If you try to change everything at once, the market's not going to know what to do with you. So I say, what are those incremental changes we can make to get you closer to that dream job, or that job that really makes the big difference? And break that down into baby steps that has maybe an interim move that's required for the first year or 2.
I love that. Yeah. Kind of putting maybe your longer term vision into play too, and thinking, what can I do in the near term to get me to that big impact that I dream of becoming someday.
Exactly.
What about, and this is great because you have the recruiting background, competition, right? Because these spots, I feel people are worried that there's so much competition out there. How are they going to stand out to get these dream career spots? So what would you tell someone who's worried about the competition out there for these positions?
Yes, I would say there is a lot of competition now. Very different to 20 years ago when I started off in this niche space. It's not so niche anymore. There's lots of talent in the market, and we're seeing 200 to 300 applications per role in this space now. So I would say it's a couple of different things. One, it is really about building your personal brand, and that requires you to do that niching and that focusing and that targeting. So the more targeted you can get and the more narrow you can cast your net, contrary to what people think, they think, oh, I'm just going to cast my net wide and then see what sticks. That doesn't work either. So we want to get as narrow as we can and as focused as we can on our target audience or theme or issue, so that we can write that brand story that's going to resonate for that audience. And then when it comes across my desk as a recruiter, I'm seeing the keywords I want to see. I'm seeing that this person on LinkedIn is tying to the resume. They're not just tweaking the resume for every application. So it's really about coming up with one brand story now. You can't reinvent yourself for every application anymore. So you've got to do that targeting so that your resume ties to your LinkedIn, which ties to your interviewing, which ties to the research and blogging that you're doing and the thought leadership that you're doing, so that you're building that brand. And that's what we look at as recruiters. We look at a holistic package. We don't just look at a cover letter and a resume. We're going to do our due diligence on you. So we need to see that you're actually walking the talk of really wanting to actively be shaping the change. And that's useful really for job changers, because you could go out and do things like research and writing and blogging and volunteering and find other ways to kind of fill potentially a gap that doesn't necessarily have to be your day job. And that's valid.
And there's so many free ways to do that right now too. That's how I got started too, is just the blogging and putting the expertise out there and what I'm learning. And then I added that to my resume when I was many years ago when I was playing. I put my blog on my resume too. So I definitely agree. And now there's so many ways. There's a blog, are you seeing people do like probably YouTube videos? Like how would you demonstrate, if you're building your personal brand, what platform should they go on right now?
I mean, if you're I mean, personally, it depends a little bit on, again, who your audience is, right? And who do you want reading what and seeing you where? So for me, it's very much LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn to me is a no-brainer. You have to have a good presence on LinkedIn. I look at Facebook at least in the jobs and recruitment space as being a little bit more the personal kind of social media, whereas LinkedIn's more the professional. And then you've got the others like the YouTubes and the Instagrams that are a little more visual, right? So it depends on what story you want to be telling, what brand image you want to be selling, and what you think your audience needs from you. So there's not really a one-stop shop apart from, I definitely think LinkedIn, you have to have a solid brand message on there, because if you don't, that is where recruiters are going to A, find you, and B, vet you. So you need to have that being consistent.
So are you seeing people taking pay cuts to go to their ideal careers, or these careers that they're making a difference? Do you advise that? Because that's one of the, I think, worries people have too, is like, am I going to have to take a pay cut to reach my career that's going to make a difference?
Yeah. I advise that you never take a step back in your career. And what I mean by back is in terms of level or challenge or access within an organization. However, if you're switching sectors, let's say you're going from corporate banking and you want to go work at WWF, you're going to probably need to take a pay cut, right? So pay isn't always the only way to consider whether or not you're taking a step back. I think pay you might have to, depending on what move you're making. What location you're moving to. There's lots of things that, demand our salary bands and things like that. But in terms of a change, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm willing to take a salary cut. I'm willing to take a step back just to get in, just to get in." But the market doesn't like that. As recruiters, we don't want to hire people that are overqualified. So what you'll end up doing is going into that vicious cycle of applying to a lot of roles that are too junior for you just to get in, but you're not going to even get a call back. So then you're in a vicious cycle of feeling rejected from roles that were too junior for you. You can't even get those.
Right.
So it's a downward spiral. However, it's interesting because the millennials, there's a lot of data out there about millennials and job searching. And there's a piece in my book that's, I quote, that 3 out of 4 millennials would take a pay cut to work for a more sustainable company. So what's interesting is this next few generations coming up are much more responsible consumers and much more responsible employees, that they want their organizations to be walking that talk and being, transparent and authentic in actually building sustainable businesses. So I think that's a good push really for the talent agenda, and those of us sitting on the recruitment side within big companies especially, is that if you want to be in the talent war that we're in, then you need to be thinking about what holistically is your organization going to offer the millennials and the next generation.
I think that's exciting too. I mean, I do feel like there's this big change of now we can have careers that make an impact as well. I know that was really important to me when I was starting my career too. And so now I think people are seeing like, you can have that in your career and have that fulfilling career and also make a difference as well. I love that.
Absolutely. I mean, I started off in accounting and working for the CFO at what's now BlackRock in financial services and making decent money. But I saw, well, wait, there's no employee engagement. There's no employee volunteering program within this huge financial institution. So I just started it. And that was the beginning of my corporate responsibility career, which has morphed many times since. But, it just goes to show you that you don't also necessarily need to have, I think another good point is that you don't necessarily need to have the word sustainability or social impact in your title to be making a difference. And if you are in a company or in a role that isn't feeling like it's making a difference, are there other ways for you to get involved in that company where you can have it, maybe not your day job, but you can still feel like you're having purpose and you're shaping change.
Yeah. Or you're volunteering in other hours of your day too, right? Doing other things to give you that experience that you can add to your resume too.
Absolutely. There's a lot of pro bono opportunity out there, lots of fellowships and ways to, win awards and competitions, lots of other ways to build up your skills and your experience without it being your day job.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, where can people find out more about you, Shannon, and your book and your social media? Where are you at?
Well, I am on LinkedIn. So
Okay.
I post everything on LinkedIn. I have hot jobs that I post on there. I post regularly bits of advice and tips and blogs and events and all sorts of juicy things. So definitely LinkedIn. You can find me under Shannon Houde, all one word, or Walk of Life Coach. Coaching is my group. So you can look for me on either of those. I am also on Twitter. So that's at Walk of Life Coach. And my website is walkoflifecoaching.com. So feel free to register you can either register on the website, you can download a free chapter of the book, and you can see some bits of the online course as well on the website. So I would love to connect with anyone that wants to connect and help be a part of your journey to making a difference.
Awesome. Yeah, I know this has been very encouraging to all of us. Do you, so one final, word of wisdom, if you had one last piece of advice to give our audience about building a career that makes a difference and identifying their career calling, what would be that final word of wisdom for us?
I mean, really, it's another P, which is possible. Everything is possible if you want it bad enough. And I've seen more than 1,000 career changers come through my doors over the last decade, and every single one of them has made this happen. Now, it doesn't mean it's a straight line, and it doesn't mean it happens quickly, but every single one of them has been able to shape a career change. So it's much more accepted now. People move jobs much more often. There's a lot more portfolio career freelancers, entrepreneurs. There's lots of different ways for us to think about our careers differently than our previous generations where you had maybe a straight track. So if you're willing to be focused yet flexible in your journey of how to get there and put yourself out there in terms of making new friends, picking up the phone, connecting with human beings, and doing the work that it takes just to make this into an iterative process rather than trying to jump over steps and change everything all at once, then this is absolutely possible. Each and every one of you listening to this, you can actually do this, I promise.
I love it. Everything is possible if you want it bad enough. So
Yes.
what a great way to end this. So everyone's going to be like motivated to make change and make an impact now. So thank you
Hey.
for being here and for motivating us today, Shannon.
Great. Thanks, Anna. Appreciate being here.